People, here's how people buy stuff. It's the real simple version, and you know this. So I'm preaching to the choir here. However, not everyone does. It took me a long time to figure this out. They buy what they want the most and what they can justify the best
Yeah.
to the stakeholders in their world, whether that's a spouse, whether that's the CFO, whether that's the board, whether that's the people that work for them.
Hello, I'm Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, and I want to welcome you to Ready Yet? If all you needed was a step-by-step plan of what to do, you could buy a book on how to succeed and you would be all set. But here's the rub. You'll never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. The Ready Yet podcast is dedicated to those who are ready to become the person who succeeds, ready to become the person who steps into more, and ready to become the best version of themselves. In the I'm Ready interview series, join me for inspiring conversations with people who figured out who they needed to be in order to achieve their dreams, and were brave enough to be that person.
Welcome to today's episode of the Ready Yet podcast, where I get to do my favorite thing, which is like talking to other human beings. So, I'm having a good time, and I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest because she is still one of the voices in my head. And let me tell you why that is and what that looks like. So welcome to Inside Erin's Head. So today's guest, Sarah Victory. I met Sarah back when we used to do like big crowded room meetings, right? We made googly eyes across the aisle at a speaking event and waving at each other, smiling, joking around. And then what happens? She's like the closing keynote speaker. I had no idea I was flirting with the big guest of the day. I had no idea, right? So we start working together, and if I could simplify what you did for me, and like I said, still the voice in my head, it comes down to this. Whatever I'm thinking of doing, what's the 10 times bigger version of it? Go do that. Like, that's what you did for me.
Now I know what I do for a living.
That's what you did for me. That's exactly what it was. So this podcast, the reason this podcast exists is because we were out to lunch because we would go eat enormous amounts of food and spend 4 hours at the restaurant, right? And there were times when I'm ordering like 2 lunches. And I said, you know what? I think I need to get on some more podcasts. And you went, you know what? Why don't you just have one?
Yeah.
I said, okay.
You're really smart.
Great. And when I had my first event, I was like, I'm going to invite 10 people to a mastermind, but I need to make it bigger. So I think it'll be a 2-day event. And you're like, that's not bigger. That's just longer. Why don't you have a real event? And so I did. And you are the voice in my head.
You had a zillion people there, and they all loved it. And it was a big success. Congratulations, because you're awesome.
So people always want to get all the answers all at once. And the truth is, if you can take 1, 2, 3 things away from your interactions, your experiences, your big investments, they can be life-changing. And the thing I got from you above and beyond everything else that we worked on was whatever you're doing, what's the craziest, biggest version of that? Just go do that. And I still ask myself, usually in your voice.
Okay.
So now that we've had that weird introduction, why don't you tell me?
That's the best introduction. That's fantastic. That's way better than mine. I'm taking you everywhere I go. We're gonna go take this on the road. This is gonna be great. You can do all my intros. I'll be a superstar. Absolutely. That's lovely. So you asked me a question, which I believe was, what the heck do I do for a living?
Who are you? What do you do?
Who am I? Who am I? What do I do? What do I do? I mainly do one thing. I help people grow businesses, mainly people who are speakers, authors, coaches, consultants, trainers. I get a lot of celebrities. I get a lot of sports stars, which, as you know, is hilarious because I don't understand the first thing about sports. And I work with, I've spoken to a lot of different groups over the years. I've been doing this since the dawn of time. So I've spoken to about 2,000 groups all around the world, Europe, South America. I'm in England right now, as you know, and all across the US. And at this point, I've spoken to about 3.5 million people in audiences that I've gotten to speak for, which has been lovely. I've had a couple thousand one-on-one coaching clients and small groups that I've gotten to work with. And my main job is to double everybody's business, which is what I'm famous for. So I have a program that I do called Double Your Business in 1 year or less. And I take on projects where I know that that business can be doubled, whether it's somebody who's, launching a speaking business, for example, or whether it's I have a large corporation I'm working with right now. I think I told you about these guys. The gal came up to me and she said, "Oh, I love your speech. It was really great. I didn't know you were the keynote speaker." Right? We bumped into the hallway just like
you're a normal human being.
I'm a real person. I swear. I am not very interesting in real life. I'm only cool on stage. No. And so she said, "I think you can help me double my business." And I hear this all day. I was like, "Great, let's go have coffee." So we have coffee, which turns into lunch, which turns into dinner. This and that from there. She's a lovely woman. And then she says, "No, I really want to double my business. I think you can help me." I said, "Well, that's fantastic." I said, "Well, how big is your business?" Because the group was mainly businesses on definitely under 1 million that I happen to be speaking to, a few thousand people. And she said, "Oh, I'm at 75 million, but I want to go to 150. And I went, "Oh, because I just wasn't, my brain was
not ready for that.
I wasn't ready for that. I said, "Well, that double your business in 1 year or less, I got to tell you, frankly, I don't know if we can double all that in 1 year. Let's be clear." And she goes, "Oh, no, I don't expect that." She goes, "If we do it in 5 years, I'll be thrilled." And I said, "So, what do you really want out of this? Tell me everything." My favorite question is, if we could do magic and it's 5 years from now, you could have anything you want. I'm all powerful, so why not? Anything you say is going to happen. What do you want? And she said, "Well, I would double da da da." And I said, well, what would it take to do that?" She goes, "Well, I would only need if I could get just one thing, I would double almost instantly." I said, "What's the one thing?" And she said, "If I could get Coke, Pepsi, and Quaker, we would double instantaneously." I said, "Well, then what do you need me for? Go do that."
Know what to do.
Exactly. Whatever you want to do, make it big. She's like, "Well, I think we could go after this client to get that client." Same thing. And I was like, no, you just told me. No.
You just know who they are. You just
you just told me what. No, backtrack. She said, "Oh, you don't understand. It's been 15 years of us slogging, trying to get in. We can't get a meeting. It's so impossible." And you know me, my favorite word is impossible. And they said, "Oh no, it's impossible. It'll never work." And I said, "Well, what are you doing right now?" And she tells me what she's doing right now, which was basically, pinging them every other day saying, "Aren't we fabulous?" Shockingly, that didn't work well. So I said, "Okay, we're not doing that. We're not doing that at all. We're going to find some really creative, interesting ways to get you in the door with these people so that you come in as the buyer, not the seller."
Yeah.
Because if you come in the buyer, not the seller, you're always on an equal footing. So we've just made her a big celebrity in the whole industry. There's not a lot of women in there, so she shined anyway. And next thing I know, I figured out how to get all the salespeople where they need to go to, and we got into Coke in just a little under a year, Pepsi year and a half, and Quaker 2.25-ish. So she had a 5-year plan. We did it in less than half that.
So let's deconstruct that.
And they did get to go to 156 million, which is thus the reason I'm in England, because we went out to dinner and she said, I want to do it again.
More.
Yeah, I said, "What are we doing again? Are we having more lobster salad? Like, what are we doing? I don't understand what we're doing again." She goes, "I want to double again." I was like, "Do you think the waiters really care? Why are we whispering?" And so she said, so now I get to help them go to make her a really big celebrity and make the company much more celebrity worthy and buzzworthy so they can go to 300. That's my job.
So let's deconstruct that for a second.
That's a lot.
Here's the thing that I know.
Yeah.
Business is business. There might be more moving parts to one business than another.
Right.
But the way you grow a business is the way you grow a business. And one of the things that you were talking about is doing it different, right? The slam your head against the wall until somebody answers the door isn't a great option. And squeezing the same five people over and over and over again. You cannot fish in the same pond and expect to catch more fish.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Yeah. I mean, when we went after those 3 companies, we actually went after 30 of them. And what happened was we got those 3, but she got like 8 others.
Right.
Because we weren't just focusing on, I mean, we knew we needed companies of that size, and we did happen to get those, and those were, ones that, just from a vanity perspective, but also obviously from a bandwidth, suddenly, everything coming together. It was huge. But
the other thing
yeah, but the whole idea of doing the same strategy over and over and over again, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting totally different results.
But the other thing you talked about is helping her become a celebrity in her business. And for me, what that ties back to, that I try to teach so much, and it's really where so much of these interviews have gone, is that your success becomes correlative with embracing your authentic self and blowing that up. Like, how visible are you willing to truly be? Not how many repetitive small tasks can you do? But how differentiating?
Nobody pays big bucks for someone to do repetitive small tasks.
Right.
Yeah.
How willing are you allowed to be authentic, differentiating, polarizing, visible, meaning you? How willing are you to be you, whether that is a company brand that embraces, there's no money in beige, there's no money in the middle.
No.
And
yeah.
And that's what you really talked about doing with her.
Yeah. Oh, you have to find, the most important thing is finding out, what do your clients really want? Not what they're lying to you and saying that they want. What do your potential clients actually want? And I have a lovely client that I'm working with right now. He's a former COO of a Fortune 50 company, I think. And he said that he, on a previous project, they were asked, to do some market research for like Land Rover, one of those big monstrous vehicles that are the size of this house, right? And they asked all these, so they did a survey, right? And they asked all these New Yorkers, mainly men, who had one of these monstrous vehicles, why did they buy the vehicle? Because they were trying to find out, what do they really, what did these people want that made them come and get this particular vehicle? And the answer that came back, overwhelmingly came back, was, this is my favorite, off-roading. They said they bought the vehicle for off-roading. Have you been to New York? We live in Chicago, right?
I've been in New York.
How much off-roading can you do in the middle of Manhattan? I would say 0, unless you want to get arrested for
driving on the sidewalk.
But again, people lie to themselves, they lie to you, they lie to us, they lie to the market, they lie to the survey, they lie, and they don't even realize they're lying. And that's okay, which is why your job is always to ask 1,000 different ways, what's most important to you? What's most important to you now? What makes that so important to you? What was important before? What's going to be important in 5 years? What are you doing about that? Who's helping you? Is anyone helping you? It's you can't just throw out one little survey and be like, oh, they said off-roading, let's just change all our marketing to that. Because those guys, it was just about showing off that they had, let's just say, big brass ovaries or something.
Right.
It wasn't about it wasn't about stupid off-roading.
Well, and the other thing that you're talking about, because and I'm sure you've had this, because I know that you work with thought leaders, speakers, solopreneurs, even in big celebrity status solopreneur, but you also work with what you would think of as a traditional moving parts giant company. And one of the things I hear from my clients,
IBM and Redken and Farmers Insurance and OPI, big corporate.
They think, so many times the feedback I get when I try to explain that that's the conversation you have is, no, this is different. It's business to business. And I keep telling people, but business is run by human beings. And that,
no matter what,
that CFO, that HR director, whoever is making your purchasing decision, is making it based on a human being's thought process. Bottom line, end of story, hard stop. Not actually the spreadsheet they have to report on.
No, people, here's how people buy stuff. This is the real simple version. And this, I'm preaching to the choir here. However, not everyone does. It took me a long time to figure this out. They buy what they want the most, and what they can justify the best
Yeah.
to the stakeholders in their world, whether that's a spouse, whether that's the CFO, whether that's the board, whether that's the people that work for them, whether,
So
it's
I
all
say
about
it
that.
differently. So they buy what they want the most and can justify the best. And I go back to the car that I got this spring, which is a Mini Cooper sports car. It's got a turbo engine.
No
Like,
off-roading.
where am I gonna go that fast? I live
Right. When do you need that? Right. Exactly. Yeah.
There's bumper to bumper traffic here. Where am I going that fast?
Right.
But I got a great deal on it.
Of course you did. And even if you didn't, you would have gotten it because you wanted it. We want what we want.
Funky sports car. And I can justify it by saying that I got a good deal on it.
Exactly. You did. We all do it. It's just, it's human. It's human nature.
And it doesn't matter if this is, again, a CFO or an HR person or within business or within your personal life. This is how the brain works. This is what we do.
It's how we decide on what movie to go to. Yeah. It's why I can't get my husband to see a rom-com to save my life, because he doesn't want to tell all his guy friends. He would do it for me because he loves me and he's perfect. But I don't ask him because I don't want him to have to say to all his guy friends, yeah, we went to see, Sisterhood of the Traveling.
Yeah, we're just going to age ourselves when we make those references. So let's just stop that.
Yeah, exactly. That's an old one. I never even did see that one, but you know what I mean. So, but yeah, so it's So
let's back up a bit for your story, because why did you think this was something you wanted to go to?
I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and I said, well, you and I both always say, I was unemployable. No,
I'm unemployable. I couldn't handle
unemployed. I play very well with others and very poorly for others. There's a photo on the Victory Company website of me having a Kool-Aid stand at about age 7 with my brother at about 5 or 6 or whatever. He's a year and a half younger than I am. And, and it says underneath, here's Sarah, training her first employee. I mean, I am wired for it. I had my very first company at 22 and raised $1.8 million or whatever a year for 10 years with that business. In the middle of Manhattan, eventually got asked to come and speak, and some of it I kind of fell into it, and other parts of it was sort of a spiritual journey, for lack of a better way of looking at it. I did a lot of personal growth. I always have, and I took a long, hard look at what things I was doing and what had meaning for me, and I realized that my main purpose in life was to help people grow and help people succeed, and I was happiest when I was helping people grow and I was helping people succeed. And then magically, when you get that kind of clarity, of course, something strange happens. And I had a gal call me up and say, would you come and speak to our group out in California? And she'd been a stage manager I had a Broadway theater company, and she had been one of our stage managers. She was wonderful. And she got a real job and loved it, And
those
she was
strange people who get real jobs.
Yeah, well, she did very well in corporate systems, and she's very successful.
I did too, which looking back, I don't know how that happened.
I don't know how you did that, considering what a rebel you constantly are. You do well, yeah. She had me come out, and I didn't. Now I know you're supposed to ask questions like, how many people are going to be there, and am I going to be translated into other languages? If you say that, you sound very cool as a speaker. They think you really know what you're doing, and just like obvious, a male-female ratio. How much motivation do you want? How much content do you want? Stuff like that. So I didn't ask anything. I didn't know, and I was like, she was like, really, no, we'll pay you to speak. This is why I'd never heard of speaking. I didn't know Tony Robbins. I didn't know Zig Ziglar. I didn't know. I knew nothing. And she said, we'll pay you. I said, to come and
talk to people
talk about how I grew this. Yeah, exactly. I said, my parents would have paid me to stop speaking as a child. They're going to think this is a joke. So I got out there, and I showed up, and there's all these people standing around with little swag bags that I'd never seen before in my life that have the name of the company and everything on it. And she goes, yeah, our division's not doing too well. I said, what define not doing too well? And she goes, well, we're division number 52. I said, well, it's a huge organization. That can't be that bad. She said, well, there's 53 divisions. We're 52. I said, okay. And she goes, so I'm hoping that you can kind of motivate people. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do that, but I'll give it my best shot. And I started looking around. They've all got the swag bags. And I said, so Susan, how many people are here for this. And I was thinking like 100 people. And I look around, there's a sea of people with the little swag bags. I started getting terrified. And she had almost 1,000 people for my very first speech.
You're gonna laugh. It sounds like those people on The Voice who have never spoken, never sang in public.
Exactly. I was that for, I was like, I sang in the shower before. I don't know what to do. So yeah, she's like, oh, you've been on Broadway. You've been a Broadway director. Just, go on stage, tell them how you, built the business, how you, cause I hustle. I mean, I'm you got to sell, you got to get out there even. And I'm naturally somewhat shy based on the crazy childhood I had. But so she said, tell them how you do that, even when you're scared. How to do, tell them some funny stories that you're always telling. I'm like, okay, I'll try to be funny. And she said, and you're a great director. Tell them we live and die by our presentations. Tell us how we can not suck. I was like, I'll do my best. So this is before the days where you could just like Google everything about a company and every product. So I had to literally grab people in the hallway and say, what do you sell exactly? And they're showing me all this stuff. And well, how do you sell it? And then they showed me their presentation. And it was like, does that work? And they were like, no. Like, no wonder it doesn't work. That's a horrible way to do it. But I didn't know better because I came from a whole different world with a different perspective. And so by 2 days of this, but the next day, I knew I knew everything. I'm a social butterfly, trying to learn what these people do. So I get up there, tell the funny stories, tell them how I raised millions of dollars and did all the sales and grew the thing and did their directing on Broadway, which I was hoping sounded at least somewhat glamorous. And then, I got my first Broadway acting job, blah, 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 hoping that's a little more, I'm trying to be funny and interesting and charming and adorable, and I'm not sure it's working. And about 3/4 of the way through, I realized that you could hear a pin drop, and I think, okay, I'm not sucking as bad as I thought I was. And, at the end, they all stood up, and I guess they're standing, like one of those guys is standing on his chair, twirling his napkin. People are, throwing their arms around. I mean, I had a woman from Hawaii who's putting lace over my neck. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I actually just helped some people. And I just, this like feeling of this is my calling, really, really came to me. And then she said, could you come in and do some consulting or some coaching? And I said, I do not know what that means. What the hell are you talking about, woman? And she goes, oh. I said, I'm assuming you don't mean like Little League on the, and she's like, no, I don't mean Little League. Soccer. Yeah, right. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know what she was talking about. And she said, did I mention we're division number 52 out of 53? I said, yeah, I know. And she said, well, I want you to help, these people having problems. These people are really good and they have potential. They don't know. No one knows how to do a presentation. Can you do this training? Can you coach all these people? Just like what you did in the hallway. She'd heard rumors about me in the hallway fixing everybody, being my usual codependent. What do you mean you're not making any money? Here, let me fix you. So, so I worked with them for about 1.5 years, and they went from division 52 to division 2. And that is what launched my career.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I know I really enjoy having conversations about who you need to be in order to reach new heights. As founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, I work with my clients at the intersection where what they need to do to succeed meets who they need to be to do it. If you would like to have a conversation about your business, please reach out to me at erin@conqueryourbusiness.com.
So here's what you did back on accident, but now on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That
it got harder. It was easier. It got harder after they got bought out, and I had to really hustle and find more clients and learn the industry and go study with Jim Rohn for 2 years because I didn't know anything. Yeah, that was hard.
What you did that people miss all the time, and you did the work before you went out to do the work. You did your research. Like, what do they want? What do they need? And one of the big mistakes I watch people make over and over and over again is they go to market with something they came up with in a bubble.
That they love. They watched Field of Dreams, another old movie, but they watched Field of Dreams, if you built, which actually I have a real good friend that's in that movie, but ironically, but if you build it, they will come, which is only true if they've already paid for it. They told you they wanted it. They gave you a bunch of money for it, and then you built it, and they're already there because then they don't have to come.
Right.
And that's what it takes.
And business only works when you find out from talking to other human beings what it is that they need.
Right.
You solve that problem and you deliver on your promise. You do a good job.
Yeah, I think I have a natural curiosity about every person, and I really care about people getting what they want. I think I've told you what my husband's favorite saying about me is never tell Sarah what you want, because she won't sleep and neither will you until you get it. So I have this obsession with helping people get where they want to go. And I think that led me to early on asking the kind of questions that I now do more consciously, and I tell other people to do, which is, what do you want? What are you trying to get out of this? And as a thought leader, you don't get the luxury of looking only at the problems that they're having. You have to look at what they really want, so that you're not perceived as as kind of the plumber versus the architect of their dream.
It's the way that I describe it.
A lot easier to sell than the negative, much easier, but then nobody wants to spend time with you. Then you're like, the insurance salesperson, which they're wonderful, but nobody wants to hang out with them because they're talking to you about death.
It's being the thought leader, not a vendor.
Yes, you do.
You have to have, not the need to have.
Yes. And you should want is never, you never want to be the I should want, that other people should want. That's the kiss of death.
Yeah.
But nobody ever, I would say, if you want to be a thought leader, you have to be seen as the architect of their dreams, because otherwise nobody ever walked into a cathedral and said, wow, have you seen the plumbing in here? It is so great. Can I meet the plumber? And the plumber's job may have been 100 times harder for all I know, but they say, I want an architect to help me build my skyscraper, my cathedral, my mosque, my whatever that is that they want. So you have to be the architect of their, they have to perceive you that way.
So one of the things I like sharing with people, because it's easier once you're past it to be more honest about it. When you're mired in the mess, it's kind of hard to expose the dirty underbelly. What hasn't worked
for me?
I now
everything.
Right. So I met you in.
I make more mistakes.
Right.
Anyway,
and isn't that So
I do. I feel forward.
2018, and I now. So it was at the end of the year. We didn't really start working with each other till the following year. But I called 2018 Erin's year of failure. Like nothing freaking worked. And now looking back, I can see why, but also thank God. Right?
Well, you feel forward. You figure out what doesn't work. It's the whole Edison quote of, I didn't fail to make a light, failed to make a light bulb 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways it didn't work. And then I found the one that did.
So why do people not, and I embrace that. It's not fun in the moment.
Yeah.
But I have learned to embrace.
That's how you learn stuff. Well, that's how you learn stuff. And what you learn to do is exactly what you did do, which was try small things. And you test small. When they do well, you ride the horse the way it's going, and you test bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you can get like $1 worth of profit out of something, then do it 10 times, get $10, and then 100 times, and then 1,000 times. But, in the beginning, I used to do big disastrous things. Now I do little tiny tests with,
I think that's a really important point. I think that's a really important point, because the way most people think is very binary. It's either a perfect success or a huge failure. But there's this place in the middle where your failures can actually not be, they don't have to be disasters. There's a whole wide range of tiny little failures.
Right. That don't really affect much, but they allow you to see, again, maybe that tiny little profit could really turn into something, or it's a just total disaster and you lost your $1,000 or your $100 or a certain amount of time, but you didn't do something so massive. I remember doing talk about failures. I had an advertising guy talk me into, 1% of the people that get this, definitely buy blah, 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 blah. And I bought the, percentages of it, went out to, a bazillion, million, trillion people or whatever. And we did not get a single thing. And it was expensive, so it's very easy to think it's sort of the outlet. I call it the out there factor. People come to me and say, I need to get out there. And I go, and where is there? What is there? Are we going to outer space? I don't think I understand. And I was guilty of that for a long time, in thinking that my network wasn't enough to get me where I needed to go. And I now know that my network is everything. Everyone's, you could have, and the average person has 236 people that they're connected to on LinkedIn, and slightly less on Facebook. But even if you had 236 contacts, everything you ever needed in the entire world is in that group of people. And that, I think that was my biggest mistake for a long, long time, is I did not realize the power that was in the extraordinary people that I have collected over the years. And now I've collected more and more and more amazing people. I mean, you're a perfect example. You're this incredible genius doing extraordinary things, helping people, grow businesses, become awesome, become celebrity. You do all these incredible things, and you're so smart, and and you really care, and you tell it like it is. I love all that. But I just feel like I'm this collector of this tribe of people I'm now very, very proud of. And we're all nuts, which means, we're all the same, which is lovely, but we share the same values. I respect them. I can count on each and every one of them. If I give them a referral, they give me referrals.
Request. Or, one of the things you're talking about, because I teach networking as one of my prime ways, people want to go and do all this online stuff. And I'm very much a connector like you are. And people think, well, that's going to take too long. And it's not true, because here it is. I mean, and for me, 2 years, just 2.5 years into Conquer Your Business as my flag in the ground company, and who I've met. And if I need something, I have no less than 30 people that I can call and say, hey, I need a favor. I'm doing a thing. I really want to get some press around it. Can you help me? And that whole reciprocal, I get kind of like you, I get so freaking excited when I can promote somebody else's stuff, when I can, I have coaches who, and I don't disagree with them, when they have an event, they talk about this, I don't do sponsors because it's my event and I want to be confident in what I'm doing. And I get it. But what I love most about my business, and it's why I started this podcast, I want to give a platform to the people who don't yet have a platform.
Right. Yes.
I think it's so much, my world changed when I got on other people's stages, when other people were willing to do for me. And the idea that I can do for them, it's just so much more fun, right?
Right. It improves the human experience, if absolutely nothing else, and it makes you more successful. Yeah, I think the hardest thing, I was trained as a kid, to never ask for anything ever, to never ask for help, do everything. So I'm extremely independent, which is lovely.
It has
its advantage. I'm not saying that's a terrible thing. However, I've learned over the years how much joy that I get when somebody asks me for help.
Right.
And why am I taking that away from other people when I do need help? And you will never get there alone. We are, and you can't know everything, even things you do for other people all day long. I mean, you do a lot of what I did for you, and what you do a lot of the same things, but you can't do it for you. Brain surgeons are not allowed to do their own brain surgery. There's a good reason for that. But I think that there's a magic in connecting with other people. I think that there's a reason that we don't see ourselves the way other people see us, and we need other people, and that we have to ask for help. And there's a primitive desire to help other people because it does make us feel so good. And most people just don't have the courage to stand up and ask for help. I remember Bonnie Dean's one of my favorite clients. I know she's been nominated for the Speakers Hall of Fame like a bunch of times. I'm sure she'll get it any day now. And she used to give this exercise out which I have borrowed heavily, and which was, take 5 pennies, put them in your right pocket. And by the end of the day, you have to take those 5 pennies and put them in your left pocket. And the only way you get them from right pocket to left pocket is asking somebody for help in a way that enhances your business. And it can be the tiniest little thing. And sometimes when I'm doing it with people, I have to get them to just the first 2 weeks, just ask for help from anybody. Ask somebody to help you put your suitcase up on the, up on in the airplane, or ask your kids to actually do do their homework, whatever. But ask for help. That, and what I find is that is magical, and it is extraordinary, because you do start to see the power of the network that you do have. And you do see how you can all help each other. And that, what is it that I'm probably paraphrasing, but that quote from John F. Kennedy of a rising tide raises all the boats. And suddenly you're all, after a certain number of years, you see everyone, you're doing better. I'm doing better. Bonnie's doing better. Everybody, we're all lifting each other up. And if we see this whole world as being collaborative rather than competitive, things really start to happen. And people always say, well, why are you best friends with somebody who's your competitor? And then I say, because there are times when I have too much business, and we just had this conversation. I've got a couple of people that I can't work with. Who am I going to give them to? Erin, do you have bandwidth? Linda McCabe, you have bandwidth. I cannot handle everybody. So there will be, there's two problems in business, as Linda McCabe likes to say: too much business and not enough business, which most people have forever, and then too much business, but they're both problems. How are you going to handle that? And there's 300 million people in the US alone. Do you really have to have all of them? Are all of them right for you? No. Do you want all of them? No. So so I think that collaborative approach has stead me well. And I'm learning to ask people, for help as we do bigger and bigger things. So I think that was my biggest failure was my inability to see what was in front of me, and just never reaching out for help and thinking I had to do everything myself. That was stupid. Yeah.
So if people want to continue this conversation with you and learn how to double their business in 1 year or less, whether that's $100,000, $500,000, $75 million,
$150 million. Yeah.
Great. What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
We have a lovely website at The Victory Company, all spelled out, thevictorycompany.com. You can also find me on Facebook. I am Sarah Victory. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I am still Sarah Victory on LinkedIn.
So thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope
I love you.
Out of it, I know what you have done for me, what you continue to do for me, even when we're not actively engaging with each other. And I'm
so proud of you.
For you as well.
Thank you. It's been a big year, couple of years for you. It's going to be, the next year is you're just skyrocketing, and you've really done so well. And it's always an honor and a privilege to spend time with you. So
and in addition to asking for help, learning the ability to just say thank you.
Yeah, I had to overcome that one too. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Ready Yet podcast. I get so motivated by the amazing accomplishments of the remarkable people I meet, and I'm excited to be able to share some of their stories with you. You can find more episodes of Ready Yet at your favorite source for podcasts or at conqueryourbusiness.com. And if you've already decided that you are ready to become the person you need to be to achieve your big goals, feel free to reach out to find out how I can support you in your efforts. Or check out the Work with Erin page on the Conquer Your Business website. I also invite you to share this podcast with anyone you know who loves to learn and be inspired. And if you're so inclined, I'd be absolutely grateful for any reviews you'd like to share as well. Thanks again for joining me. This has been Erin Marcus, hopefully inspiring and helping you to go conquer your big dreams.